Hi Flosstube, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Cameron. This is a channel about cross stitch, crafting, knitting, etc., but mostly cross stitch. And I'm here today to show off an extra special finish. And I also have lots of FFOs to show you today. That is not normal for me. And some whips and whatnot. If you are just stumbling upon my channel, I did release a video a couple weeks ago of me packing up a bunch of my whips and putting them into storage because I'm in a moving era. I haven't moved yet, but I'm in a moving era. And a lot of people, it was a Flosstube extra, and a lot of new people stumbled upon my channel. So if you came from that video, hi, welcome. This is going to be a normal Flosstube update. So I'll be showing you finishes and FFOs, whips, which stands for work in progress, and a little bit of haul, not too much though, and some knitting at the very end. But I will start off with the first thing that some of you may be here for, and that is finally the reveal of my new design. This would actually be number 2 if we're going by when I designed things. This would be my second design ever. It would be my third released design, and I have not only finished stitching it, but also framed it. So, without further ado, this is it. I have lots of feelings. I love it. I'm proud of myself. I'm trying not to be hard on myself and not be a perfectionist. I did get a custom frame for this from Art to Frames, and I do think I love the frame. It's perfect. The only thing I'm second guessing, and like, I don't even want to say this because I don't want people to like confirm it because I'm not interested. Don't tell me. But I do wonder if I should have brought the border over on this side. But at the same time, I didn't want to do that. When I designed this, that was not the intention. So I'm gonna go with it, and it's already done. So anyways, this is what I'm calling the Summer Gothic sampler, and I designed this several months ago on a I had thought about, I would love to do something Southern Gothic-y in a fun way for myself. There are a couple things that inspired this piece, and basically it all started with this bowl right here. This is the first thing that I designed on this pattern, and it is a berry bowl, but it is full of teeth. So don't worry, those of you, if you are interested in stitching this, I will have a link to the pattern in my description box on my Ko-Fi and on Etsy. I do prefer Ko-Fi, but if you prefer Etsy as like a customer, totally fine. I have an Etsy as well. But I do have an alternate version of this bowl that has berries on it. The berries do look a bit like radishes in my opinion, or maybe strawberries. It could be whatever you want, but I charted it so that it will be the exact same height so that the bird will sit right on top of the berries, just like it is with the teeth. So that was what started this whole thing. The inspiration comes from one of my favorite books and one of my favorite mini-series on HBO, or limited series, which is Sharp Objects, starring Amy Adams and a bunch of other people. And so that's what kind of started it all. And then I went from there. Also from the show, there is this beautiful wallpaper that is featured in the house, and I took inspiration from that to chart this bird, which is a very abstract, weird looking bird, but I really like the look of it. I like the position the bird's in. I don't know, I'm liking it. I added stink bugs because when I was in middle school, I think, like the mid 2000s in my hometown in Virginia, and this happened, I think, all over the place, especially in the South. I don't know why, but just all of a sudden there were like swarms of stink bugs in everyone's house, and some people's houses were worse than others depending on like what area of the town that they lived in. And so I remember going over to like a friend's house when I was little, and their house, for some reason, like the curtains, the windows, it was covered in stink bugs all the time. In my house, we did get a few, but it wasn't as bad. So yeah, I put a couple of stink bugs on there. And then of course I also added some dogwoods, cause I'm from Virginia, and a little piece of me. This is a bathtub, like a very dingy bathtub that's outside. I will say, if you want your bathtub to stand out more, you can absolutely stitch it in the white floss, but I wanted mine to be quite dingy. So that's what I did. And then, the border is inspired by like those old lady southern like white, it's not just the South, but like those old lady curtains, those lace curtains. I wanted to do something very delicate and simple for the border. And then the house itself is also from Sharp Objects, the limited series. I am pretty proud of the house. It was a lot, and I tried to make it dimensional but not too big. This is stitched on 36 count muted Sedona by Fiber on a Whim, and I stitched it with one strand of DMC. I have discovered through this one and another model that I'm stitching still, 2 strands would be a lot easier to get some contrast and some color payoff. And I'm understanding why Liz from Hello from Liz Matthews uses 2 strands. I do prefer stitching with 1 strand on 36, but I encourage anyone that is interested to, first of all, stitch this on whatever fabric, whatever count you want. But I would love to see this with 2 strands on a 36 or 32, whatever. I just think I want to see that. I also would love to see this instead of using the darkest color, and this is of course my favorite DMC, which is 3021. I think this would look absolutely fabulous if you used DMC 310 instead. And you did everything in black where you see this dark brown instead. I think that would look really graphic and fun, and wouldn't mess with the overall like composition, or like, or it wouldn't mess with like motifs, if that makes sense. Like it would look good, even if you didn't change any other color. The one thing I will say is you're gonna have to stitch this on a darker fabric, or at least a fabric that's gonna show up with white stitches. As you can see, there's a lot of white stitching. However, the white that I chose is 3866, which is very much like an ivory off-white. If you're wanting to stitch this on maybe like a more medium toned or lighter fabric, you could swap that with DMC B5200, which is the brightest white available, so that it will show up on like a lighter tan fabric, for instance, or whatever lighter color you have. That is what I would recommend. And then of course it would also help if you do 2 strands for more color payoff. But again, I stitched this with 1 strand on 36. I think it looks fabulous. I just would love to see someone stitch it with 2 strands. I think it would be plush and gorge, and I would love that. And yeah, so that is my latest release. It is available now on my Etsy and my Ko-Fi. I will have a link in my description box and on my Instagram. Thank you for being patient with me, but it is out. So on that, continuing with that, I will show you more FFOs in a second, but it is raining outside now, like hard, so I'm hoping that it's like ASMR-y though, and it's not disturbing to the viewers. It's also dark, but I'm using my ring light, so hopefully you can see totally okay. I want to show you the next model that I am working on. And okay, I'm hoping, so I'm gonna sit on this video for like a day or two before I release it so I can get everything together for the pattern I just showed. But I'd also like to release this the same day, but I don't know yet. I'm also thinking that I could release it a little bit later in August, but I am gonna go ahead and show you. I'm not gonna keep this one a secret anymore. It is not completely stitched, but it is almost done. Okay, so this is my next model. It is not done yet, but it is almost done. You can see it's gonna be mirrored exactly. What's over here is gonna be over here. But this is called Sun Bleached, and I was inspired by also memories from childhood. And I don't know if anybody, growing up, we would go to one of my grandparents' house and they would have a bunch of like what looked like sun bleached ladybugs like all over their bedroom, and like different plants that were, they were Catholic, and they had those palm leaves that my grandma had collected, and like they were with her rosaries and all this stuff, and it was on a wall and it was facing a screen in like a screen door, and so the sun would beat on it all day every day, and everything was very sun bleached, including the crucifix was on that wall. So Jesus was looking quite pale. And I was inspired by that, and also inspired by Ethel Cain, her album, Preacher's Daughter, and specifically the song Sun Bleached Flies is one of my favorite songs. And yeah, so I was inspired by that, and I also got this fabric. This is 36 count Cherry Cobbler by Roxy Floss Co. I got this at Stitch North this year, and I was very inspired by this fabric. However, this fabric was very difficult to stitch on. I also had the same problem with color payoff and contrast. I do think that this would have been better if I used 2 strands, but I just wasn't comfortable using 2 strands. So I, again, would very much encourage anyone that is a 2-stranded stitcher that likes that method, that wants to do that, to use it with this on maybe a bigger count as well. I think this would look great on just like 16 count black Aida. Would look fabulous on that. I was going for a little bit of a different look. I also almost wanted to stitch this on Earth by Fiber on a Whim. If I ever stitched this again, I would totally pick that fabric because it's a really lovely dark rich brown. So if you're looking for more of that look, I recommend that fabric, absolutely. But again, this is another piece where you're gonna have to stitch it on a darker fabric for color payoff. I did not do that on purpose. It's just what inspired me and what I was feeling. So I promise though, I did design one more pattern that I have not even started model stitching, but I promise that one will have no white stitches and you can stitch it on a light fabric. I don't know why I did this to myself, to be honest, but that's okay. I am almost done. I think I'm going to finish stitching this today, and I guess you'll know if this is out already, but I think I might wait just a week or two. So that is all of the House of Cam model stitch talk. I am going to show you some more FFOs right now. And the first one, I'm going to go from smallest to biggest, I think. This first one is just in a Mill Hill frame that I had in stash. And I stitched this forever ago in 2022. And it is a pattern by Stitchy Princess on Etsy. I think it's called like, I don't know, witch bathroom something. I don't remember. But I stitched it on 32 count, like lime Lugana. I don't know. I genuinely don't remember. And I don't have this in Notion. So this was just lying around and I realized that it fit in this mill hill. So I didn't even lace it. I literally shoved it in there. It's a very temporary situation, but it was easy because Lugana is very forgiving. The next smallest, this is My Flowers by Boomerang Stitches. This is not my best FFO. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, could have moved it over just a little bit that way, but it's fine. This one was a bit difficult to lace because obviously the shape of the frame is not perfectly square. I had these corners, but you know what? It's in a frame. And I also, this doesn't have any like hardware to hang it. So I'm gonna have to fix that myself. I got this frame from Michael's, for like, I don't even know how much it was. It wasn't expensive. This is like not even, I don't know if it's wood. No, it can't be wood. It's probably, it's something. But yeah, I stitched this on 40 count limited edition color something from Atomic Ranch with my own stash of color and cotton. I love this so much. I stitched with one strand and I don't know. I just love it. I love the colors I picked. I love this pattern. And yeah. Okay, my next FFO, this is Love Bugs by Sprouting Lupine. And I also finished this, I think I finished it last year, but maybe I started it in 2023. I don't remember. This was the first stitch along of Marjorie Maids that I joined, and yeah, I love it. I still love it. I love the back stitch. I did stitch this on a 32 count Picture This Plus Lugana. It is the called for. It's the color Sprite. It's this really light lavender color, and famously I do hate stitching on 32 count Picture This Plus Lugana, and I'll never do it again, but I powered through this one with 2 strands of the called for DMC, and this was just an 8x10 frame that I picked up at Goodwill. So it ended up being perfect, and yeah, I love it. So one more look at that. I'm so happy it's on my wall now. I have 2 more. This is big. I got this frame from my local craft reuse store. I don't remember the size of it, but it worked perfectly for this piece. This was a round robin stitch that I did with a few of my friends, and we used Hello from Liz Matthews Quaker Gardens chart to do it with. And yeah, I used 36 count Kunzite by Fiber on a Whim for the fabric. And then the floss is a not available Mo's Sale silk called Cranberry Bread, and it's like a variegation from hot pink to brown, and it's very pretty. But yeah. All right, my last FFO. This one I've been wanting to FFO for a very long time, and now has inspired me to, now that I have it fully framed, it has inspired me to start a similar type of project because I do love it so much. This is Thurza Priscilla Dawes by Hemlock and Rye, which is Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World, Julie. I started this back in, I think, 2022 or maybe 2023. I don't remember. And then I finished it. I don't know. It took me an entire year to finish. I'll tell you that much. I stitched it on a white Zweigart 32 count linen with 2 strands of the called for DMC. And I did get this custom frame as well from Art to Frames. I opted for no glass for both Art to Frames custom pieces I got that I've shown you today. I don't like to frame with glass. It's also more expensive, and right now this is what worked for me. If I ever change my mind, I think I could always like order the glass, but I didn't want to, and that's okay. So yeah, this is Thurza. She's looking absolutely amazing. And I actually want to do another piece like this with like 32 count plain like white or off-white fabric with 2 strands of DMC. It's so plush and rich, and I want to do that again with a colorful sampler. So I actually purchased Julie's new, brand new pattern called I Know My ABCs. I'll pop a picture up here. It is a Scottish reproduction sampler. She did say that the colors are not, it's not a technical, like, what do you call it, like faithful reproduction, because she did go a little crazy with the colors, but I personally think the colors are absolutely fantastic. So I want to do the same type of method with that piece, with the 2 strands on 32 count, and I believe she actually stitched it on 32 count with 2 strands as well for the model. So yeah, it's gonna be big, and it's gonna be plush, and it's gonna be gorge. That is all of my FFOs. So I am gonna show you 2 finishes. I did show these in my last video. It was a Flosstube extra, but I did not show them in my last regular Flosstube update. This is Bearing Gifts by Kathy Barrick, which I did post on Instagram, and this is stitched on 20 count Bestitch Me Ada in the color Mocha, I think. It was a fabric of the month. I did my own color conversion with mostly color and cottons. I think 1 classic Colorworks, and I think a couple of DMCs. But yeah, I did this with 1 strand. That was a finish past few weeks. I also finished this woodcut by Night Spirit Studio. This is called Farmer's Freefall. I stitched this on 28 count natural linen 2/1 tent stitch. This is the second woodcut I have completed, and I do have plans to start more. I think I'm gonna start the next one next year to give myself a little bit of time to whip down more. These don't take long because I'm doing them with tent stitch, but I'm just gonna take a little bit of a break, and I'm definitely only gonna start 1 at a time. I had 2 going at one point, so, but they are both done now. All right, couple other whips. Let's see. Those were all my finishes. The next whip I'll show you, this is Weeds and Wildflowers by the Artsy Housewife. And I have this kitted with all the Roxy Floss Co., the Ada and the fabric and the floss. And I did stitch on this during Midsummer Stitch just a little bit. Oh, that's gorgeous. Every time I pull up this fabric, I want to eat it. The fabric is 20 count Buttercup by Roxy Floss, and the main part that I stitched on during Midsummer was the moth itself. A lot of this fill in, and it looks fantastic. I need to keep working on it, but that is that. Next whip I also worked on. This is my Animal Cracker Maggie May by Stacey Nash, and I'm doing this also 2/1 tent stitch on 28 count linen by Fiber and a Whim in the color Latte. I don't have, I didn't do a whole lot, but I did almost fill in her whole head, which I should have just like done that and then shown it, but I'm not as organized as I probably should be for these. But yeah, she's looking great. I definitely want to always have an Animal Cracker going, so as soon as I finish this one, I'm going to start another one on the same fabric in the exact same stitching style. I also put in a few stitches on Strawberry Moon by Hello from Liz Matthews. This was a Patreon chart in the month of June, and it is looking great. I love this fabric. This is 36 count Midnight Ride by XJU Designs, and I'm stitching this with 2 strands of DMC on 36 count, which that's a running theme. I'm kind of into that right now, despite what I previously said. And I am using a conversion that Bridget came up with. She basically just brightened the palette up. It's true to the palette, it's just a little bit punched up. So that is that. This is Autumn Cloche by Hello from Liz Matthews. I honestly don't remember where I was the last time I showed this, but I have worked on it since. I'm very behind what I should be doing on this with my friend Bridget, the museum stitcher, but that's okay. She told me it's okay. That is where I'm at. I did finish those 2 flowers right here, and I'm continuing I'm just gonna keep going. I am slogging on this a little bit, and I think it's because I'm not in the mood to stitch on autumn. I have been absolutely entranced by summer stitching this year and bright palettes and things. And also I've been stitching on my model, which is not the brightest palette in the world. And so, I don't know, but this is gorgeous. This is stitched on 36 count Affogato linen by Fiber and a Whim. And I'm using 1 strand of some of the called for DMC, and then also some color and cotton I subbed in. As you can see, this pumpkin is quite variegated. That is a color and cotton thread. Again, these are just from my stash. I've used, I don't even know if they're all special edition, so you can't even get them. But these are my flosses. That's what I'm working with. Pretty much half and half DMC and color and cotton. And then I have 2 new starts. One of them is going to be kind of difficult to show because it's on the most see-through piece of black Aida you've ever seen in your life. This is a very out of print Reolist kit that I purchased from eBay last year for way too much money, and I don't want to talk about it. But it's been sitting there in my stash, not started, and I finally got inspired to start it the Friday before Midsummer Stitch. So this is my start on it. Oh my god. It looks amazing. I'm using the kit fabric, which I believe is a 14 count, but it's very see-through. And I'm using the kit floss, which is anchor floss, and I'm using it as called for, which is 3 strands. Now, it actually makes sense because, again, these holes are so big on this Aida that 3 strands is better coverage, especially because there's a lot of light colors on a dark fabric. Is it the most fun way to stitch in the world? No, but is it worth it for this piece? Yes. So you can see that's her hand, and that's like some outlines of her hair. I only worked on this for 2 nights, and I can't wait to get more work into it, but you can see just how see-through. See how big those holes are? It's actually kind of nice because I'm not struggling to pull floss through it. It is also nice because it's actually quite easy to see the holes, which on black fabric is, you know, difficult. So it's not the worst stitching experience. It is so hard to find. I had a saved search for it for over a year before anything popped up on eBay. And when it did pop up, I saw the price, and thankfully it wasn't a bidding situation. I woke up like early that morning, saw my email, saw it, and just clicked and bought it without thinking because it had been over a year since I saw anything. It does have a companion piece, which is a mermaid on black fabric as well, that is like haunting. And I need her so bad. So bad. I have had also a saved search for that for just as long. So it's now been 2 years and I have never seen anything come up for it. I don't even know the name for that one. This one I believe is called Midnight by Reolist, if I'm not mistaken. I call it Catherine from Wuthering Heights. It's giving Catherine, it's giving Chapel Roan, dare I say. Whatever. I love it. I'm glad I started it, and I hope to get more progress on that. Next, and my last new start in WIP I'll show you. This is, it was an exclusive pattern by JetX Stitch at Midsummer Stitch called Summer's Day. And I started it Saturday during Midsummer Stitch. I'm using the called for DMC with 2 strands on 36 count Dolomite by Fiber and a Whim, which is the called for. And it looks plush, it looks gorgeous, and I actually enjoyed stitching on this. I've gotten quite a bit of progress. Not as much progress as some of my friends who are also stitching this, but I have a decent chunk done for a new start, which is not very me. So I love the face in the sun. That's one of the first things I got done, and I just like, I love it. Was smiling at me while I was stitching everything else. It just looks amazing. I did swap out the color that she called for to do your initial with that dark burgundy color because I like it a little bit more, but everything else is as called for. So I loved Midsummer Stitch. Is put on by Steph at Lindy Stitches. It is so fun. This is my 2nd year attending Midsummer Stitch. And then I've attended pretty much every single online retreat that she's put on. I think I missed the Spring Fling this year just because I was at Stitch North, but I will also be going to the Harvest Moon gathering in September, I believe. And I'm already seeing like classes and sneak peeks for that, and I can't wait. It is such a blast. I love going in the stitching rooms and watching all the Q&As and Flosstube tables and all of that good stuff. It's just a fantastic event. A couple of other things. First of all, plans. One plan I have in August is to start this huge sampler. I got this at Nashville this year. This is Elizabeth Scora. I would say correct me, but it's not like I'm gonna understand the pronunciation if you type it out in a comment. But I believe it's Scora. I don't know. I like the sound of it. This is by my sister's Samplers, and I got the Gloriana Silks pack from StitchCon in June this year. I'm gonna stitch this on, I haven't really decided. I have a couple of 36 count options, but I also have a really good 40 count option. Right now, I'm not feeling 40 count in my heart or in my hands. I'm not feeling 40 count. Just like not something I'm interested in doing anymore. Right. And I have plenty of 40 count projects going. However, I think this would look really good on 40 count. The silks on the, I don't know. Anyways, all of that to say, I'm going to start this in August for my friend Rachel at Lemonade Stitching, her birthday. She also got this kitted up at StitchCon, and I believe Bridgen, the museum stitcher, also has this kitted up. So we're going to start that for Rachel's birthday. And yeah, I think the only thing I'm going to change on this is I'm going to take out the verse and replace it with a quote possibly. And then that's it. I think everything else I'm going to keep. I love this alphabet. I love this demonic goat in the corner. I'm calling it a demonic goat, and I love it. And I want, honestly, more of him on the sampler, but I'll take just the one. The other plan, I don't have the chart near me right now because I'm unorganized, but I am also going to be starting Tomato Hill by Plum Street Samplers in August. I believe, I want to say August 5th, or no, maybe later in August. I don't remember. Bridgen and I are doing what we're calling a Tomato August, and we're inviting everyone to join. We are stealing Marjorie's idea of Strawberry Moon. No, we just have been wanting to stitch tomatoes really bad, and I think that August is kind of like the perfect month to do it. So we will be starting maybe just one or maybe a couple of tomato projects in August, but I am going to stitch it on Spicy Mustard by Fiber and a Whim. This is a 36 count cut that I've had for a while, and I just think that my Tomato Hill needs to go on this. I'm gonna make probably I'm gonna stitch it in the DMC, but I might have to make a change in terms of the grass just because it will be the same color as the fabric, but I'm okay with that. I want my tomatoes on this fabric, so therefore I'm gonna do that. An honorable mention is I also purchased Owl Forest Embroidery. They have a tomato sampler that is in the same style as the pickle sampler that Marjorie from Marjorie Made finished this year. And I really like it. And so I'm kind of thinking of starting that too, but that would be irresponsible, but also like, who cares? You only live once. And also I don't even have fabric picked out for it. But we'll see. Stay tuned, I guess. From Midsummer Stitch, I purchased the exclusive fabric from Bestitch Me in a 32 count. This is called Midsummer, and I will let you see it in all its glory. I'm sure this sold out pretty quickly. I was very quick with my purchasing. And I don't have anything in mind. However, I did get it in a 32 count because, I don't know, maybe I'll be inspired this October at the Queen City Stitch Retreat to stitch a fancy lady on this. And if not, I can always use this for, I'm thinking like a Jet X stitch, a sprouting lupine pattern, something like that, with 2 strands on 32, and I think it would look really good. I love it. This is very summery to me, very spring. I just think it's unique and I love it. So I bought that. I also purchased the Happy Heart sampler. It's by Birds of a Feather, and this has been remastered by Sherry from Colorado Cross Stitcher. I, first of all, have always wanted to stitch this. This has been on my wish list for a long time. However, Sarah from Sarah's Stitchery is working on this currently and posting pictures on Instagram, and I need it so bad. I need it so bad. I did not get this kitted because it is kitted, or it's called for in Weeks Dye Works, so I'm going to do a color conversion for this, probably in Color and Cotton. And then I have absolutely plenty of fabric in stash to stitch this on, but I did go ahead and grab that. And then, oh, from Midsummer Stitch, totally forgot, I got both sets. These are also restocked right now as of today, I saw. I got both sets of these beautiful floss drops by Willoughby Ann. I absolutely needed these green ones, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna get the green ones, I might as well go ahead and get the black ones, and I did. I just think they're neat. I just think they're neat, okay? So, those are great. I'm gonna kit something up with that. And then the last piece of haul I have for you, which I'm sure all of you just are gonna be so interested in, I scored some pieces of embroidery from eBay. So I will just start silently putting them up and letting you just like really appreciate what they are. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is the vintage eBay score that I got. These were only like $25, and they're all hand stitched, and that's the back of one of them. I am obsessed with these. I kind of got them in mind to like frame or something to put in a future craft room or whatever the hell I want to do with them. I'm gonna have a clown corner in some room. I've also been encouraged to make a clown quilt, which of course would be a long project from now when I have the space to do something like quilting, hopefully in the future, but I do love that idea. I think that is all. I am going to leave you here. I want to thank everybody for watching, for subscribing, for commenting, for liking, and if you made it this far, put a tooth emoji in the comments. I know there's one. And I hope that you enjoy my new pattern. If you are interested, again, I will have that link down below to purchase. So I'm gonna say what I always say, and that is, bye baby.